Here with football head coach Shane Richardson previewing the spring season for UNCP football. Actually started Monday. You went this morning as well. Coach, let's talk about your off-season work. 2-8 during the fall. What did you focus on during the off-season that you can share with us, of course, not just in the weight room, but maybe outside of the weight room as well?
Sure. We felt like going into the off season, we needed to do something a little bit different to just kind of raise the intensity, raise the bar a little bit. Implemented kind of a program where we tried to focus on leadership and accountability and really ultimately responsibility, making sure that guys knew that we needed to really understand each other and each other's roles and responsibilities to the program and what you need to do every day with your job, and being able to come every day and perform and produce what you should be doing. And so we had a leadership program where we had 15 guys that really stepped up this spring, and they were in charge of, each of them had a platoon, and they were in charge of about 7 guys apiece. And it really made for a good combination of leadership, responsibility, accountability, and through that, I think guys really understood what their roles and jobs were a little bit more. But then also it carried over into all of our workouts. All of our workouts were much more intense. We really tried to raise the bar with those. And so we've got a lot of good work done in the first 7 weeks of the semester.
Let's talk about your team. 15 seniors, according to my count on the roster. You'll have 2 or 3 that will have eligibility left, but will participate in senior day more than likely. Relatively small senior class compared to last year, but that leads into let's talk about your leadership on this year's team. Doesn't have to be seniors, but you probably have some guys that have stepped up and assumed that leadership role now.
That's right. And going back to those 15 guys that I referred to, they're not all seniors. What we did was we had about 27 guys that really kind of nominated themselves as leaders of the program. And from there, we were able to decipher about 15 of them that we saw that really had stepped up and really showed us that they were capable of doing it. And those 15 guys, they were pretty even on both sides of the ball. And they were able to step up and really take the lead on what we needed to do as a program. So some of those names, some of the older guys would be on defense: Kendall Jacobs, Ed Hopper, Michael Keck, Ronnie Moore, Blake Hickman on defense. Those guys have really stepped up and been great voices. And then on offense, we've had John Rich, BJ Bunn. In the backfield, we've had Martin Munn, Demetrius Fairley, Pat O'Brien, Reggie Pinner, the quarterbacks. So there's been a good combination of some guys that have really done a good job of just carrying the lead of the team this spring so far.
Well, I know you've had some goals that you set for this team this spring, but what are some of the maybe 2 or 3 primary goals you have for your team this spring?
Well, what we need to do is figure out just the chemistry and the unity coming out of a 2-8 season. The concept that we wanted to focus on was we need to care about success more than our failures, really. And so we didn't really want to focus on 2-8, although that's a motivator, but we want to care about success more and be able to be focused on success more. And so we wanted to figure out what the chemistry was going to be like to see if guys were going to complain, if they're going to be negative, if they were going to think, any type of narcissistic thoughts that would go against what we're trying to get done. And so the chemistry was going to be big. And so we've really tried to focus on that and really getting that in tune to having a good mindset. And so that's been one goal that we've tried to focus on. Really going into spring practice, we need to be able to find a quarterback and make sure that that guy is going to be a steady leader for us, a guy who's going to be able to play every down and be a guy that we can really count on in that position. Of course, last year we had a couple guys that were able to rotate there, and it wasn't a stable position for us. We want to make that a stable position for us. Defense, we've lost a few guys. we want to make sure that we stick to a code black mentality. We have 2 new coaches on that side of the ball, so a goal of mine on defense is to make sure that everybody's able to come together under the same umbrella of what we really believe in our philosophy of code black, and playing hard, playing fast, playing together, and making sure that we all understand that is first and foremost above everything else. So there's a couple goals there that we have, and so I anticipate that at the end of spring ball, all of that will kind of be able to show its face a little bit, and we'll be able to have a good evaluation after April 9th.
Well, you hit on this in your answer. You got 3 new coaches on your staff that joined the team in January. You got Joe Ford, defensive backs, co-defensive coordinator, Liddell Love, defensive line, and then Cody Kennedy is your offensive line coach. How have they adjusted to your coaching staff as well as the coaching of your team?
They've adjusted very well, and so we went over a lot of our philosophy, our expectations, our program, which we call the Spirit of the Brave, and that's really kind of everything that we believe in. And so we covered a lot of that stuff already as a staff working up into spring ball, and we were talking about it as a staff, just the chemistry that we have as a staff is going to carry over into the chemistry of the team. And so we felt very good about the guys that we brought on staff. They fit in very well. They really understand what we're trying to do. They're from similar programs. It's not something that's very unfamiliar with them, and so they're able to adjust pretty well, I think. And they've been very good additions for us.
Well, let's talk about, you hit on this as well in a couple of answers ago, your quarterback battle. Reggie Pinner, Andrew Goodman both come back. They were in your rotation during the fall, but you also added Patrick O'Brien back into the mix. Patrick O'Brien, although unofficial, probably the spring game MVP last year, sat out last season to take care of some personal things as far as eligibility goes. But talk about your quarterback battle. You got 3 pretty good ones that you can decide between this spring.
So we've had 2 practices so far. In total, we've got 5 guys that are taking reps right now. Of course, that won't last very long just because there's only one guy that is going to play that position. But we want to find out who the best guy is going to be. And so each of those guys are getting opportunities right now to show what they can do. And so we're excited to see how that shakes itself out here in the next few days. We think by practice 5, we'll be able to start to get a really good feel for who the top 1, 2, 3 guys are that we can really start mixing into the rotation and being able to really focus on going forward. So you're right, though. Reggie Pinner, Andrew Goodman, and Patrick O'Brien, those 3, they should be able to rise to the top, although it's a good competition right now to see who's able to pick up the offense, manage it, lead it, and make all the throws and make the adjustments and the things that we need to do.
Well, you got receivers B.J. Bond, John Rich, as well as running back Rontonio Stanley coming back for you. 4 other starters besides them coming back on offense. Besides quarterback, what are some of your focuses on the offensive side of the ball in spring ball?
Well, I think offensive line is much improved. Last year, they were extremely young, and I think by the end of the season, we were basically starting 4 guys that really up until last year hadn't had a whole lot of snaps of college football. And so they're a year older, a year more mature, and I think a year in the system, they've been able to really adjust well. And so really feel great about where the offensive line is heading. We're not there yet, but that is a primary focus of getting better and adding depth there, and really excited about the guys that are coming in this fall to add to the depth in our recruiting class. So offensive line, I think, is going to really be much more improved this year. And I think, like you said, receiver is going to be very deep, and our skill positions should be very good on offense.
Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. You took a big hit to graduation. Seven guys who started either the last 2 games or the last 3 games for you. 7 starters gone on defense. You do have a lot of experience coming back, though, and that should make you feel a little bit better as a head coach.
Yep, absolutely. So there are guys that for sure graduated that were very good contributors for us. And as we were looking at the film from last year, going into spring ball, we're looking at the film and we're trying to decide who's going to be able to replace those guys and fit in well. And you're right, there's some guys that we have in the program that they do have good experience. They've played some reps, they've been here a little while, and they're able to carry on the system and just be plugged right in. And so those guys have got to get good reps this spring, be able to develop here over the next 4 or 5 weeks for us, and then hopefully going into fall camp, we're able to have a good idea of where we are.
As with every other football program across the country, I'm sure you had some injuries to tend to in the off season. Who are some of the guys that people may not see during the spring, but are still on your roster that may have contributed during the fall, if any, that you have that may be sitting out this spring due to injury?
Sure. Really, 3 guys come to mind, and they're all defensive players. Ed Hopper, our defensive tackle, Chris Tyndall, our defensive tackle, and then Elijah Williams, linebacker. Those 3 guys all had surgeries. They won't do anything during spring ball as far as getting any type of reps. They may end up working some individual type drills as they continue through their rehab, but they'll just continue to recover and make sure that they're 100% healthy going into the fall.
Let's talk about you'll have some scrimmages littered around on your spring schedule. For those watching this video, you can find your spring schedule, your spring practice schedule on UNCPBraves.com. Spring game, the only published scrimmage on April 9th. But what are your scrimmage formats going to be like? What have you thought about that yet, and what you're going to try to accomplish during those scrimmages?
Sure. So as we go deeper into the spring ball season, we want to get to more game-like scenarios. Starting out, as we kind of move forward here in the first part of the progression, we'll make it more practice-like. It'll maybe be some live situations, scrimmage-like plays, but may not necessarily resemble a game per se. So as we move towards April 9th, we'll get to be more game-like situations, game-like in length, try to work up into those reps to make sure that guys are getting into football shape and understanding what it takes to actually play a game come fall. So we're looking forward to April 9th, but we're also looking forward to every single day up until then, because we've talked about this as a team. Every day we've got to be able to go out and get better and make sure that even if we're not going live or not scrimmaging, there's still a lot of work to be done, and we can become better football players even on those days that we're not live tackling.
Well, Coach, we'll let you get back to your film sessions. I'm sure you got some practice planning to do, but thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much, Todd.